I'm on the motorway in the south of England, heading to the coast in the English Channel. By lunchtime today, I will have played 18 holes at my next golfing destination, northern France. France is the most visited country in the world, but more importantly, it has some of the best golfing opportunities anywhere on the planet. From sumptuous parkland courses set around fairytale chateaux to courses which lie alongside infamous battlefields, northern France is an adventure golfer's paradise. Beginning my journey in England, I'm heading to the south coast to catch a train. But this isn't just any old train. The Eurotunnel runs from Folkestone on the southeast tip of the UK to Calais in northern France. It takes 35 minutes to travel under the English Channel, and it's the quickest and easiest way of hopping between England and the European mainland. Well, I'm here, northern France. My first destination is the seaside town of Touquet, which is a popular resort with the French and English alike. It's just 45 minutes drive from Calais. There are two 18-hole golf courses here, each with their own characteristics. La Foret, which weaves its way through plentiful pine trees, and my choice, La Mer, which is reminiscent of the Scottish links, laid out among the sand dunes.
The greens are always good, the fairways are excellent, and probably my favourite hole, they're all good, but maybe the first hole, because I always manage to par the first hole.
Playing around in northern France is a delight. The green fees are around half what you'd pay in some of the more golf-mad countries in Europe, and it's rare that all the tee-off times are booked up in advance. This is La Mer course at Le Touquet, designed by the legendary golf architect Harry Colt nearly 80 years ago. It's a links course, and just behind those hills there is the English Channel. And with this wind today, I don't know what's going to happen. I'm here at Le Touquet with the women's pro, Daphne Le Sueur, who's going to show me how to play the par 3 10th. This is typical of the type of hole you'll come across here. It's 138 metres with a completely blind tee shot up a hill and over some bushes to a small green. What adds to the fun today is that it's straight into the wind. C'est très difficile.
Très difficile, yeah.
Whoops.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. With this wind blowing, Daphne drilled a 4-iron low up over the hill and just off the right edge of the green. I tried to follow suit, but the wind caught my ball and I did wave bye-bye to it out of bounds to the right. My provisional ball was a whole lot more successful and came to rest just next to Daphne's. When we started the round, the weather was very sunny. Now it looks like it will rain.
It's Touquet. It's always like that. Maybe you can have a morning very clear and in 1 hour storm.
Like
so,
England.
Yeah.
It's a very beautiful course though, yeah?
Yes, it's my favorite course in France.
Why is that?
It's a challenge.
Very
difficult, very difficult.
I mean, I've lost several balls already.
Yeah.
Oh, this weather's treacherous. In this weather, it was much safer to play little chip and runs onto the green rather than lob wedges, which could have ended up in the English Channel. Excellent shot.
Thank you.
There's no pot of gold at the end of this rainbow, I'm afraid. That's a 6 after my out of bounds. Daphne ended up with a very respectable par. I don't believe it. I started the hole in the wind, then it rained, then it was sunny, and now it's doing everything at the same time.
Had all sorts of weather today, but sun, rain, but it's still been fun and been enjoyable doing it and playing golf.
Well, in this wind, that was an interesting experience. A golfing tip, bring your wet weather gear. And your suntan lotion. Le Touquet is one of my favourite places in northern France. It's a lovely little coastal town with a strong English tradition. It was after the First World War when the British gradually began returning to northern France. The Prince of Wales stayed in Le Touquet for the first time in 1923, and he became the driving force behind the town's popularity. Although resorts like Le Touquet became popular again in the 20s, you have to remember that only a decade before this, the area was the scene of the most horrific carnage imaginable, and the scars still exist. If you're playing golf in northwestern France, you must visit the World War I battlefields of the Somme Valley, site of one of the bloodiest conflicts in human history. This cemetery at Abbeville, 45 minutes south of Le Touquet, is the final resting place for a number of Allied troops from World War I. What was the nastiest thing, do you think, about the First World War?
I think, firstly, the sheer size of it, the conditions they fought in the trenches, and probably lack of transport to get them to decent hospitals in time, you know, and being unable to get them off the battlefield when they were wounded. Just on the Western Front, it was just a sheer bloodbath. My
uncle was a stretcher bearer at Gallipoli, survived and then became a stretcher bearer here. Was that usual?
Oh yes, I mean it's they had one heck of a job to do, the stretcher bearers. These are the lads who would go out and pick up the wounded men off the battlefield, usually under fire, and bring them back to safety.
I mean, you've been to these places a lot. Are you still moved by the experience, or?
Oh yeah, I mean there's never a trip goes by where I don't shed a tear.
It's an incredibly peaceful place, isn't it? Amongst the cornfields on top of the hill.
Beautiful. It is. If a cemetery can be beautiful, yeah, it is peaceful. And they deserve a bit of peace, I think.
My next destination is the small village of Sanson, near Rouen. The Sanson golf course has been naturally integrated into the middle of an ancient 200-acre estate. The classical chateau doubles up as a clubhouse and small hotel where a handful of rooms are available. This chateau and the grounds have been here for about 200 years, but during the Second World War it was taken over by the Germans, and these fairways down here were used as landing strips. Because of its geography, the course naturally divides into 3 distinct areas. The first 5 holes lie in a valley below the chateau, set amongst some tricky water hazards. The next 6 are played through heavy woodland, with the remaining 7 holes sitting on a gorgeous plateau overlooking the surrounding countryside. This course cuts through the ancient forest of Uy, which is the largest preserved beech forest in France, and it's absolutely magnificent. The par 4 8th hole is a 352-metre dogleg to the left. The fairway slopes steeply from left to right and is surrounded by woodland crowding into the landing area. With a good drive hit down the left and brought back into the middle by the slope, you should be left with a short iron to this small but receptive green. Easy. So be honest, who do you think's got the best swing? Well, we're here on the 8th tee, and it's the English-speaking world versus the French. I'm playing with Ray, who loves it so much at this course that he plays here more than he does in England, and we're playing Rudolph and Michelle, who run the club. I believe it's hosts first, gentlemen. So why do you play here and not in England?
Well, you've only got to look at the view, and that's why.
So it's kind of undiscovered, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's getting more popular, you know, with the Brits and with the Americans.
Well, I think it's your shot over here.
Okay.
Yeah, let's see what we can do. The 2 best drives were handily placed for an approach to the green, but the French were becoming increasingly competitive.
Yeah, good shot, man. It will be difficult for them. Yeah!
What are you laughing at?
Very good.
You think it's funny, do you?
No, it's not funny for you, but...
for us, it's very funny.
Yes.
Lovely shot. Shot in.
And if you fluff your shot, it could be interesting.
Yeah, you're dreaming, my friend. It's a dream for you, eh? Okay, you're a very good guy. I will tell you something very important.
What's that?
I will be your nightmare.
Michel then chipped on to within 6 feet of the pin, but his touch around the green wasn't the only magic he produced.
You won?
Yeah.
Okay. That's your balls?
Yeah.
Okay, your ball, yes. And that's my hand. And sometimes with my hand I can make disappear your ball. It's a present for you.
So, as we came to the putts, both sides had played 3. Rudolph had a tricky 6-footer, and after my delicate chip, surely Ray would sink the putt to halve the hole.
Yay! Damn it! Now it's difficult for you,
No,
allez.
it's no longer. Ray.
Allez, let's go now.
Come on, Ray, you got to put it in.
Be careful, Ray. Turns left. No, right.
Yeah!
Ray, sorry.
We are very sorry for you.
One, Ray.
You know,
It's amazing, isn't it? You come out for a nice, friendly game, and all of a sudden it all gets serious. I can see what they mean about the forests in Normandy being among the best in France. This road goes on for miles, and there's absolutely no traffic on it. If I stuck to the auto routes, it would be just a 2-hour drive to Port-en-Besson. However, my tip is to take your time and explore some of the beautiful towns along the way. Honfleur, close to the northwestern port of Le Havre, is a delightful town, a great place to stop for lunch. This place is crammed full of beautiful Normandy houses, which so typify the local architecture of this ancient region. One other delight about driving around Normandy is the amazing chateaux you seem to come across around every corner, like these two, Chateau de Lentilles and Chateau Fontaine-Henri. But the biggest must-see if you're visiting this area are the Second World War D-Day landing beaches, such as Omaha Beach. This is one of the largest American military cemeteries anywhere. It covers nearly 200 acres and contains the bodies of nearly 10,000 American servicemen. The cemetery directly overlooks Omaha Beach, site of the worst fighting during the D-Day landings, and not surprisingly, the worst casualties. The American forces landed at about 7 o'clock in the morning, but by mid-afternoon they were still bogged down on the beach.
I came here 25 years ago for the first time. It's overwhelming. It's a place that's sacred in American history, and it's a place that all Americans should visit. They should make a pilgrimage here.
The golf course at Omaha Beach isn't very old, and it's quickly established itself in the top 50 in the country. But it's the link to the D-Day landings that make it a course you have to play if you're in northern France. This course is just 20 years old, but it's become one of the top courses in northern France. Its connections with the epic events of D-Day are reflected in the names of the holes. Hole number 1, General Dwight Eisenhower. Omaha Beach has 3 9-hole golf courses. The famous sea course, La Mer, which overlooks Port-au-Besson, Le Bocage, and L'Etang, which means the lake. I met up with Jacques Revelli, a local historian and member at Omaha Beach. His earliest memories were of the D-Day landings, so I was keen to find out more. Jacques, you can remember the D-Day landings?
Of course. Well, I was 6 on D-Day, and we were living in Bayeux, and so that's very, very near the British sector, and the landings took place about, well, I would say 5 miles from our house. So what I remember is my window was facing north, and I saw the sky completely red, yellow, all sort of colors, white, and a terrific noise, bombing, shelling. And I was so frightened that, I went to my mother and father's bedroom. But funnily enough, I said to my father and mother, they're landing. It's funny, isn't it?
It seems to me that a lot of people in this area are very respectful towards the Allies.
They brought us back a certain dignity, and giving back maybe what would we call it, freedom and maybe a new democracy. And that's a thing many people can't forget that. Not very good, this one.
It got over the bunker, it's all right.
Yes, but it's not a good shot.
What are these flags here?
Flags of England and France, because there's a monument there on an old German bunker. You may see that on the plaque there, because there was quite heavy fighting, and there's another bunker there, and the British number 47 Commando, who was supposed to take Port-en-Besson, which is the town we see here, managed to capture these positions after 2 days fighting.
This is a bunker on the 6th, but it's a German bunker, from the D-Day landings. Incredible spot. Next, I took a small detour to a beautiful spot just north of Paris. In 1883, artist Claude Monet, one of the leading lights in the Impressionist movement, settled with his family in the small village of Giverny, and it was here he created his famous gardens. Monet lived here for nearly 40 years, planted this wonderful garden which inspired some of his best-known works. By digging ponds and planting a wide variety of flowers and trees, Monet consciously constructed and set the composition for his masterpieces from nature itself. And this is Monet's famous Japanese bridge. I'm on the final leg of my journey, south to the Loire Valley. The Loire Valley is world-renowned for its wine. I visited vineyards in Vouvray, east of Tours, where I met Master of Wines, James Hanford. So how long has the vines been grown here?
Right here, they've been since the 12th, 13th centuries, even before that, but more seriously since the monks would have planted in the 14th and 15th centuries. And some of these vines right here, if you look at this guy down here, these vines will be 50 years old in themselves, those thick trunks there. And that again is one great reason for the complexity of the wine, because they've shot their roots right down. The older they are, it's just like you and me, the older we are, the better things we produce, but maybe not in such big quantities.
Vouvray wine matures in the bottle. It doesn't reach maturity for 5 to 10 years. It reaches its peak after 20 to 40 years, and depending on the vintage, it can even peak after 100 years. I wouldn't give it much chance of staying on my shelf that long. James, what are these bottles here?
This is the 1949, believe it or not. Nearly 60 years old.
They're all black. I mean, what's happened to them?
As we've moved around the cellar, there's been lots of different natural fungal growth. It actually grows quite quickly, and they'll just leave it there. It just stays there. Let's go and pick him up.
I mean, that's been there for decades.
That's actually a sweet wine as well, so that's going to help it age.
I mean, how much would something like that be?
These would be $150, or possibly more.
Now, this is the bit I've been looking forward to.
That's why you don't spit. That's why you don't spit.
Next up on my increasingly cultural tour of France is some pretty fancy architecture. In 1453, following the campaigns of Joan of Arc, the English were expelled from France, and with peace came a new sense of national pride and optimism. This led to an ambitious royal building program. The grand age of chateau building in the Loire Valley had begun, heavily influenced by Italian artisans brought here by French kings. Places like this, Chambord, the exterior of which was transformed by Francois I from a simple hunting lodge to what can only be described as a superior hunting lodge. Old Francois didn't do a bad job in the inside either, but he did employ a pretty good interior decorator, Leonardo da Vinci. This place was also a favourite haunt of Louis XIV, better known as the Sun King. Just a few miles south of the historic town of Orléans, in the heart of France's most ancient forest, lies arguably the finest golfing resort in Europe. Originally home to the billionaire business tycoon Baron Bick, famous for inventing the Bic biro, Les Bordes is now the location of an amazing golf course. Carved out of a mature, lake-studded forest of oak, fir and birch, Les Bordes is a gloriously tranquil 18-hole course which only opened in 1987. This is possibly the quietest and most peaceful golf course I've ever visited. Last night I stayed in one of these wonderful cabins. This place has been a hunting ground for centuries. In fact, the emblem of Les Bordes is this stag's head. time to go hunting. I'm playing today with Jim Shirley, who came over here from Texas 19 years ago to assist with the construction of the course and never left. The par 5 7th hole is one of the toughest on the course. An accurate drive is required right up the tree-lined and narrow fairway, followed by a second over water to an equally tight landing area on the other side. Having negotiated this far successfully, you're then left with a third back over water to a small green, which is guarded by some vicious-looking bunkers.
Hope I can show you the direction to go. Good shot.
Jim hit a cracking tee shot right down the middle, making his second over the lake a fairly simple affair. I followed his lead and ended up right in the centre of the fairway. Easy game this, isn't it? How did Baron Bick's association with the golf course come about?
Well, I'm told that when he was, many years ago when he was around 68, that he had a mild heart attack. Mr. Sakurai, his partner, suggested that he take up golf, would be a good exercise for him. And he fell in love with the game and became, as we Americans say, became a complete golf nut.
So why the golf course here?
Well, the golf course here was because he owned this property and he purely 100% loved this property. This was his favorite place to relax in the world.
Why is that?
Well, he hunted here and he just enjoyed the beauty. He liked the Salonia. He liked animals. He liked the wildness of this area. But the thing that I think is unique about this place is the lack of housing, the lack of roads, the lack of noise. We're one of the few places in the world where when you leave the clubhouse, you don't see another building until you return to the clubhouse at 9. The Baron just was nuts, absolutely, about quiet.
That obviously explains the attraction of this place to him.
To him, yeah, he was just crazy about that.
And it's in?
That may be in the water, that is.
Yes, that's how it's done. Okay, I'm going to drop another one.
Oh, very good.
Unfortunately, I pulled my second shot left and into the water, which wasn't in the master plan. Jim, however, hit a great shot over the lake into a perfect position for his approach shot to the green. My third, after a drop, put me in an A1 position.
I guarantee you, if Mr. Bick was around, we'd have to do something to tighten those boards up on that bridge.
Those boards are too loud?
Oh my goodness, he couldn't have stood that. Not for a minute. I guarantee you it would have driven him crazy if they made that much noise. That was his #1 goal, was silence, or as he pronounced it, silence. Oh. This your ball?
That's my bloody phone. I don't believe that.
Well, they happen. Phones go off. You're supposed to turn it off, but that does happen.
The Baron wouldn't have liked the phone, right?
And me too, I just remembered. Oh, great shot, Ian. Great shot. Way to play.
Oh, look at that. All right.
Very good. I may have knocked it in the water.
Oh.
Did I go in the water?
It sounded like it.
Oh my.
I mean, in this incredibly silent atmosphere, you can hear the ball going in the water from like 6 miles away. I gotta go for it.
You got some Australian background.
It was Jim's turn to bite off a bit too much, and his third ended up in the drink. My fourth, after a one-shot penalty for my watery excursion, was a lot better, and I made it onto the dance floor. Jim also hit a good recovery after his drop, and we were both putting, eventually.
Baron Bick really enjoyed hunting, and he was crazy about the wild boar. It was an animal that just appealed to him. And before the golf course, there were many on this property. We eventually had to build a fence around the property to keep the boar out, or the damage would have been far too great.
And there's lots of wildlife around now?
Oh yeah, 2 different types of deer and almost too many.
I haven't seen it yet. Am I
Well,
likely to?
You're likely to if you take a good look, either late in the day or early in the morning.
Right.
And I didn't hit it at all.
It's so quiet here, you have to fight the urge to shout, "In the hole!" because the Baron really wouldn't approve.
Very good.
Excellent. Well, that was really one of the quietest games of golf I've ever played. Just as Baron Bick would have liked it. Silence.
Four.
Hey, can you guys cut that noise out over there? Of course, one of the great things about coming to France on your golfing break is that on the way home you can stock up on all that wonderful French produce, wine and cheese. It's a lot cheaper here. See you next time.
You can find out more about this series on our website. A double DVD featuring the first 6 episodes and the Adventure Golf book are also available. Featuring course layouts, scorecards, and additional information to help plan your own adventure golf getaway. To order Adventure Golf products, visit the website www.adventuregolftv.com.